Hello guys, good afternoon. How are you guys doing? This is a new tutorial video on how I created a dynamic menu button using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So this is a project I am working on. This is the final result. Whenever I click on the menu, it's going to toggle the menu items. If I click on it again, it's going to remove it from display. So it's a dynamic menu button. I'm going to teach us how I created this dynamic menu button using HTML and CSS with JavaScript. So JavaScript is the programming language that made it possible for the button to have a dynamic behavior. Dynamic means something that changes over time. So the button changes the state of the menu items from display to no display. To start with, I have a HTML document right here. Inside of the body, I started with a nav bar, with a nav HTML tag. Inside of the nav HTML tag, I have two div tags. Inside the first div tag is a content logo. Inside of the second div is a content menu. I use ID to select this second div. I use an ID. I give the ID a name of hamburger to select the second div. I'm going to explain how this works with CSS later on when we go over to the CSS file. And then after the nav HTML tag, I have a div which is also styled, or rather I'm using ID to select this div. So I name this ID menu items. Instead of the menu items div, I have two A tags. So A tag is also called the anchor HTML element or HTML tag. It is used to link one page to another page inside of your website. At the present moment, I'm not linking this page to any other page. That is why I use hash inside of the href attribute. So your anchor tag can have what is known as an attribute. So href is an attribute. Attributes help us to add more features to our HTML tag. So the way you know an attribute is by the attribute name followed by equal symbol and then followed by the value. So in our present case, the value of my attribute href is just hash. So values are denoted with quotation mark. They will be inside of the quotation mark. So I just have hash as my value inside of the quotation mark. So I'm going to use the ID, the name I gave to my ID, which is menu items, and the name I gave to my ID of hamburger to select these two divs using CSS. The reason why I gave this ID is short for identifier. It is used to identify a unique HTML item or a unique HTML tag. Now, you see in this present HTML document, I repeated divs severally. So how will I be able to uniquely select a particular div? It is using the ID attribute. So I'll head over to CSS by clicking on this or swiping. I'll swipe. You can either click on this button or you swipe downward to go over to the style.css. So in the style.css, I use the hash followed by the name of the ID to select it in my CSS. So I have hash menu items. So in order to style the menu items, I gave it a background color of maroon, and I gave the text in the menu items to be color white. I also added padding. So if you look at this about p subs, you see that the top and the bottom have a padding of 10 px. I also made sure that the text inside of it is aligned to the center, so it's going to be in the center. And then I removed display, so whenever the page or the website loads, it's going to be empty. There won't be any menu items displayed because I assigned the property to be displayed none. I went further to style the anchor tag inside of the menu items div. The anchor tags, these are the anchor tags, they are inside of the menu items div. So I styled them separately. I gave them a color of white. Their default color is blue. So I also removed the text decoration because their default text decoration is underline. So I removed the underline. I'm going to show you. So I'm going to toggle the comment so that it's going to remove that. So I've toggled the comment, and then I'm going to run the document again so that you can see the default behavior. You see that they have an underline. I'm also going to toggle the comment on color so that you can see the default color of the anchor tags. So like I said, they are blue. So it's not looking nice. That is why I removed defaults and made it to be what it is now. So I made the color to be white, and I removed the text decoration from underline to none. So that is the power of CSS properties for you. I also made the anchor tag to have a display of blood because the default display is inline. So I'm going to show you the difference. So I'll comment it out. So by the way, comments are a way to make codes to not work while you are coding. So as I've commented this display to be out, I'm going to run the code again so that you can see what inline codes look like. So they are inline, they are on the same line, on one line. That's what inline display of inline means. They will be on one line. So I'm going to go back to my code now and remove the comment from there. So I also give it a padding of 10 px and a border of 4 px, border size of 4 px, border style of solid, and border color of a lighter shade of red. So that is why it looks like this. It looks pretty. So that's why I said CSS adds beauty and makes your HTML pretty. Now, in order for us to be able to click on the menu and have this effect, we need to use JavaScript. So I'm going to click on this button again and go to script.js. There I have some JavaScript code already written down. So I'm going to explain what it does. So the first line of our JavaScript code has var. Var is a keyword in JavaScript used to denote a variable. So I'm creating a variable using the var keyword. So the name of my variable is menu items. So variables can be seen as containers. They help us to store up data or objects inside of those containers. More on that in our subsequent tutorials. So at the present moment, what I'm storing in this menu items variable is a way of grabbing the menu items, the whole of the menu items. The whole of the menu items are what we have in maroon colors. So I'm grabbing them, since in my HTML I use the ID of menu items to identify this particular div. JavaScript is going to grab that particular div now using this document.querySelector, and then inside of the bracket you have the hash menu items. Now I'm also grabbing the hamburger div, which I have in my HTML, which I have used the ID attribute to identify, so that whenever I click on the menu, it's going to JavaScript to select the menu, the hamburger ID. So much like the same way on the first line where we grabbed using the document.querySelector, I also do the same thing for the hamburger. Now JavaScript has what is known as events. The onClick is an event. So when I click on when I touch using my finger on the menu item, on the menu, this is the menu. When I click on it, it triggers the event listener on click, which then runs a function. So the function first of all logs menu was clicked in the console. So I've clicked it 10 times, so it's telling me that menu has been clicked for the 11th time. Now this is a whole lot of JavaScript which normally it takes us days to learn. So I'm just doing a recap of what I have done so far. If you need a private lesson, you can signify in the comment section, and then I'm going to take you on a personal lesson on how to use JavaScript professionally. Now let's continue. Now instead of the function of the onClick listener, I am performing an if statement, a conditional statement to check. So by the way, before we started on line 4, I skipped line 3. Line 3 is just telling us that I'm using JavaScript to change the display of my menu items to none. So I intentionally wrote this code here so that many items of style .display will always be set to none, so JavaScript can easily track the state of my menu items. Now back to the function, the onClick function. Inside of this onClick function, the conditional statement here is checking to see if the menu items, the display, whether it is none, and then if it is none, it's going to run the code in the curly brackets first. So when it has checked that it is none, it's going to assign to the display, it's going to make it block. That is when we click on the menu. So when you click on this menu, at this moment it is none. When you click on it, it's going to assign a display of block to it. A display of block to the menu items. Now, if it's going to check now, else that's the second on line 9 is going to check the condition. Is menu items dot style dot display set to block? That's the else part. Now is asking if yes, it's going to now change it to none. So that is why when we click on this menu item, it removes it by changing the display to none. So that is how this code functions to give us this beautiful dynamic result. Now, like I said, I run personal tutorials so that you can understand and learn how to build your own ideas. So on the comment section, you can simply state your interest and I'll be ready to answer you. So till next time, I remain my humble self, Edozie John Paul Uzoma, and I'll be glad to listen to your comments and questions. So bye bye.